Oh yes, my Straight Dog family, when you hear that music, you know it's time for another edition of Straight Talk, and time for me to say a very pleasant night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and a very pleasant night to the entire Caribbean region. And matter of fact, can and should say greetings rather to the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora. Greetings to the world. I say greetings because there are many of you, all parts of the world will find you. Some of you are in Africa. There are some of you in Europe. There are some of you in Asia. And there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I am at liberty to say good night. I will say good afternoon, and I can also and will also say good morning. Some of you, in your neck of the woods, your part of the world, it's morning. Norma, Danny, Elsie, and the whole UK posse, we greet you with love. My Straight Talk family, I welcome all to Straight Talk, and in particular our first timers. Each program we have first timers, and I would just like to apprise you, I would just like to inform you that Straight Talk, it's a public service program, and we try to facilitate and promote all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. We, yes, facilitate and promote discussion on all these issues, but we would like to do them in a responsible way. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation, my Straight Dog family, on yet another occasion. And on this program, especially for the first timers, let me inform you as well, it is a participative program. By that I mean we entertain your calls, we entertain your emails, and if you're so minded to communicate in some form, the numbers are 663-6672. You can access it. It's a local number. Overseas, you can access that number. It's 869-663-6672. Or there's an overseas number, 646-829-6672. The brigade of all those who want the cloak of anonymity seem to be getting larger. And for those who like the cloak of anonymity, we provide you access via our email platform. You don't want to be heard on the telephone. You don't want to be identified. So we give you that cloak of anonymity, but just be respectful when you get behind that keyboard. And we give you access via our email address, which is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's one word, straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. And my Straight Dog family, every episode we also provide, or we entertain, or we discuss a thesis, a dissertation. And my dissertation tonight, it is easily explainable, and we will understand why, I'm sure, without much of a need to explain. And my thesis is titled tonight, "May the soul of Sir Tapley rest in eternal peace." Before we go to the dissertation, we normally look at our observations in review. And that's the time when we reflect on some of the things that we have highlighted, some of the issues of the day that we may have highlighted. We ask a few questions, such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what we have learned as a people, because it's a learning process. It's a process of CPD. We try to develop ourselves professionally, continuing professional development as well. We're not going to yam, and, cuss, and cast. No. We look at issues, we analyze them, and we try to be grounded at all times in the truth. But on a sad note, my Straight Dog family, on a very sad note, we lost a young professional, a brother. We lost a brother today. We know him as Pacer, Dr. Leroy or Lesroy Henry, as we know him as Pacer. I got the opportunity, or had the opportunity at some time, to work with him during my stint as the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture years ago, when he came back as a young veterinary doctor. So Lesroy Pacer Henry, we got the shock of today. We know him as the doctor of veterinary services, veterinary medicine, and former director of agriculture. I think he was acting director of agriculture just before the change of administration. But as I said, we learned that he has gone to the great beyond, and we must extend our condolences to the family of our bereaved brother, the family of our departed brother, I should say. That should be the bereaved family of our departed brother. We extend our condolences to the family. And we know we can say anything, because really, death, my Straight Dog family, it's a process. And I'm minded at all times of the song by Jimmy Cliff, who said, or who sang, "Who feels it knows it." And it's only when people, loved ones so close to us, depart to another life, then we understand how important it is to love one another each day. But death is a process, my Straight Dog family, and that's the only comfort that I can give to you at this time. But our first observation, and for all of those who have lost loved ones, I don't always hear about them, but they may have been some who lost loved ones. I was looking at social media just last night, and I note that this lady Powell passed away. I was shocked to see it. And in fact, the funeral service was at my church in Zion, so I never heard of that. But these things happen, my Straight Dog family. But our first observation in review, my Straight Dog family, relates to a statement. Yesterday, the 19th of July, 2023, the UK Home Secretary, the Right Honourable Suella Braverman, laid before the House of Commons a statement of changes in immigration rules that impose a visa regime on Dominica, Honduras, Namibia, Timor-Leste, and Vanuatu are those 5 countries. And in presenting the statement in the House of Commons, the Home Secretary said this, and I quote, "We are today imposing a visa requirement on all visitors from Dominica, Honduras, Namibia, Timor-Leste, and Vanuatu," stated Braverman. She further informed the House of Commons that nationals of these countries will also be required to obtain a direct airside transit visa if they intend to transit via the United Kingdom, having booked travel to another country. According to the Home Secretary, careful consideration of Dominica's and Vanuatu's operation of a citizenship by investment scheme has shown clear and evident abuse of the scheme, including the granting of citizenship to individuals known to pose a risk to the United Kingdom. Now, there's also another report that Straight Talk cannot, however, confirm, which states that Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, and St. Kitts and Nevis will respectively face similar action in October, November, and December this year. We cannot confirm that report, but we do hope that such information is inaccurate. And my Straight Talk family, our second observation. And Straight Talk unfortunately learned of another homicide, yet another homicide, this time in the village of St. Paul's. And this was reported on ZLZ television tonight.
The police are investigating a fatal shooting incident in St. Paul's, St. Kitts, which occurred on Wednesday between the hours of 9 and 9:30 p.m. The police say that 29-year-old Jermaine Jules of Grove Village, St. Paul's, was fired upon by an armed assailant while riding his bicycle on Rollins Avenue. Mr. Jules was struck multiple times about the body and died at the scene.
So yes, my Straight Talk family, the shooting continues, and shot dead, according to that report again, was Jermaine Jules of St. Paul's, and bringing the number of homicides for 2023 under Dr. Drew to 19. And that gives us a monthly average of 3 murders per month, and a total of 27 murders since Dr. Drew assumed the office of Prime Minister and Minister of National Security as of the 6th of August 2022. Now, my Straight Talk family, if something drastically is not done, hear me out, if something drastically is not done, then what would happen? We need to put a cessation, we need to put a stop to all these killings. And what the Prime Minister is doing, we don't know. If something drastically is not done to put a cessation to these killings, then Dr. Drew would maneuver the ship of state into the bloody past of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, which he himself recalled, my Straight Talk family. He himself recalled this.
In 2011, we peaked with murders in St. Kitts, 36. We can all remember that was the year for that.
Yes, 36. That was the year for that, according to Drew. Whatever that means, we ask what is for this year. As people are dying left, right, and center in a country where the people are terrified of their lives, my Straight Talk family. And this is what people are saying.
People dying left, right, and center, and there is no solution coming. The place is unsafe. Everybody terrified for their life.
Everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis, in particular St. Kitts, are terrified for their life because the place is unsafe. And there's no solution coming from the incumbent administration. And that is not only sad, it is frightening to many. There's also a discussion about the plan involving the snake, most people call him, Brantley. And in political circles, he has earned the dubious distinction of being labeled a snake and one who should not be trusted. We saw something, and many things have been sent to Straight Talk, and I am not in a position today to confirm the veracity, the truth of these statements about Brantley and his insidious attempt at undermining the current Prime Minister. Suffice to say, though, that I would not be surprised of anything coming from that political snake. Because remember in opposition that Mark Brantley tabled a motion against then Prime Minister Dr. Douglas. Mark you, the Labour administration was blamed for bouncing the check of the Nevis Island administration civil servants. Remember some years ago when the National Bank actually bounced the check of the divisions. Then under then chairman of the bank, Maynard, Congress's father, Contender Maynard, that's the right name. And that eventually led to that and other things, I should say, to the tabling of a motion of no confidence back then. But we also recall that the political stake also connived to table a motion of no confidence in the very government he was serving. So it won't really surprise me if he will try to undermine and do something ulterior, if that's the right word, but do something to undermine the current administration of Dr. Drew, who he said promised him a fair share. But we will wait and see what happens, my Straight Talk family. But I am not going to entertain it because I cannot confirm the truth in the issue that is being circulated. But those are my observations in review, my Straight Talk family. And at 21 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour, if you have just joined me, welcome to this edition of Straight Talk as we embark upon full discussion of our thesis tonight titled, May the Soul of Sir Tapley Rest in Eternal Peace. And my thesis, as titled, is a tribute to the late Sir Tapley Seaton, who died on June 29, 2023, 5 months after retiring on January the 31st, 2023. In the process, though, I crave your understanding and participation as well as we examine the constitutional, ceremonial, and civic roles that every Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis has to play as the representative of the monarch of St. Kitts and Nevis, who currently is King Charles III. The Governor General is the King's representative in St. Kitts, like in most Commonwealth countries, and has an important role in the governing of this country. If one looks at the constitutional, ceremonial, and civic roles of this office, established as per Chapter 3, Section 21 of the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution, which reads, there shall be for St. Christopher and Nevis a Governor General who shall be a citizen appointed by Her Majesty and shall hold office during Her Majesty's pleasure, and who shall be Her Majesty's representative in St. Christopher and Nevis. That's what the Constitution reads, but now we will interpret that as His Majesty, because the Queen Elizabeth has died and we now have a king. May long live the king. God save our gracious king. So the Governor General's power in the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution stipulate the powers of the Governor General stipulate the important role he or she plays in helping to ensure that the Federation is governed in accordance with the rules set out in our Constitution. In our Constitution, it refers to the mode of exercise of legislative power under Section 42, subsections 1, 2, 3, and 4. Subsection 1 reads, the power of Parliament to make laws shall be exercised by bills passed by the National Assembly and assented to by the Governor General, my straight dog family. Now, when the Governor General assents to a bill that has been submitted to him or her in accordance with the provisions of our Constitution, the bill shall become law, and the Governor General shall thereupon cause it to be published in the Gazette as law. If you ask me, therefore, who is the Governor General? My response would be, as I said earlier, in St. Kitts Nevis, like in most Commonwealth countries, the Governor General is the King's representative. But it is very important to note that the Governor General is appointed by the King on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. Isn't that interesting? Appointed by the King upon the recommendation of the Prime Minister. The Governor General is also appointed at the King's pleasure. That is, without a fixed term, though in some jurisdictions, Governors General are given a 5-year term that can be extended. The Governor General has some responsibility for making sure St. Kitts and Nevis is governed, therefore, according to the rules in the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution. St. Kitts Nevis is a constitutional monarchy. This means the king is our head of state, but does not have absolute power. He must follow the Constitution, and the king delegates his powers to the Governor General. And there has been talk about transitioning into a republic. However, it is just that talk, my straight dog family, about transitioning into a republic.
Our political independence was just the first step. Over the years, we have also built the foundation of our own social, economic, and cultural freedoms. I will confess, we are not totally free yet, but we are on a path of continuous improvement for our people and our country. And as your fourth Prime Minister of this land, I am honored to lead our country along this path. Our nation is much closer to true independence than not. As we approach 40 years as an independent nation in 2023, we also set our eyes on transitioning into a republic, where we truly encapsulate our sovereignty.
Well, for now, transitioning St. Kitts and Nevis into a republic is just talk. Talk, talk, talk. Now, Section 51 of the Constitution says executive authority is given to the king and delegated to the Governor General. This means the Governor General is part of both the Parliament and the government and carries out tasks on behalf of the king. The executive authority of St. Christopher and Nevis is vested in Her Majesty or His Majesty. It should read now. And subject to the provisions of our Constitution, the executive authority of St. Christopher and Nevis may be exercised on behalf of Her Majesty by the Governor General, either directly or through officers subordinate to him. Excuse me, my straight dog family. I'm reading from the Constitution, and you would appreciate that the Constitution was written in 1983, so the Constitution would have been referring to Her Majesty. Nonetheless, we understand it to mean His Majesty at this time. And as I said, the Constitution gives the Governor General the power to give royal assent to a bill, proposed law passed by the National Assembly. Now, I'm not certain though if the Constitution gives power. Gives power to the Governor General to act as Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Force, as it's in most constitutions. I am aware, however, that the St. Christopher and Nevis Defense Force Act and subsidiary legislation, as revised, showing the law as of December 2017, it reads under Section 14, subsection 2 of that act, that the commander of the Defense Force shall, subject to the directions of the Governor General, be responsible for the operational use of the Defense Force. But very interesting, it says in subsection 3, where no directions have been given by the Governor General under the provision of subsection 2 of this subsection that I just read, the Prime Minister may, as he or she deems fit, give to the commander direction with respect to the operational use of the Defense Force or forces in St. Christopher and Nevis for the purposes of maintaining and securing public order. But interestingly, the Governor General also has reserve powers included in the Constitution. And that's my interpretation, because the Governor General's reserve powers include the power, my straight dog family. It includes the power, for example, whenever the Governor General has the occasion to appoint a Prime Minister, he shall appoint a representative who appears to him likely to command the support of the majority of the representatives. So, the Governor General has reserved powers that include the appointment of a Prime Minister, even when an election has not resulted in a clear outcome, as happened in 1993. And some amongst us may not have even been born as yet, but may have heard of the 4-4 results, the tie results, when PAM and Labour each got 4 seats. And this is what happened back then in 1993. The Governor General, in his judgment, did this.
CCM leader and Vision Premier Vance Amory on Tuesday turned down approaches by both the ruling People's Action Movement and the Labour Party to enter into a coalition. Dr. Simmons therefore depended on his party's traditional links with the Nevis Reformation Party, which won a single seat. Shortly after 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, Governor-General Sir Clement Arundel announced on radio he proposed to call on PAM leader Dr. Simmons to form the next government.
I am now satisfied that Dr. Kennedy Simmons, the leader of the People's Action Movement, is the leader most likely to command the support of the majority of the representatives in the National Assembly. In compliance with Section 52, subsection 2 of the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis, I accordingly propose to appoint him as Prime Minister and to call upon him to form the next administration. I call upon all political parties and the citizens to accept and respect the democratic process.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, the reserved power of the Governor General, and he had the occasion to appoint a Prime Minister who appeared to him likely to command the support of the majority. And all hell broke loose, remember that. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. We are looking back at the roles of the Governor General, and in this ceremonial role and constitutional rules, they are closely related. The Governor General's ceremonial duties include, for example, attending the opening of a new parliament and delivering the throne speech. For example, a speech about the new government and what it wants to do. Administering the oath to the Prime Minister, other ministers. His civic role as well keeps him or her busy. Now, since attaining independence on September the 19th, 1983, St. Kitts Nevis to date has had 5 Governors General. The appointed Governor General currently is Dame Marcella Liburd. Our first Governor General, we just heard from him, Sir Clement Athelstan Arundel, served from 1983 to 1996. He was first appointed governor in 1981 and became Governor General upon independence. Our second Governor General, Sir Cuthbert Montraville Sebastian, was the longest serving Governor General who remained in office from 1996 to 2013. Our third Governor General, Sir Edmund Wickham Lawrence, on the other hand, was the shortest serving Governor General from 2013 to 2015, when he was replaced by Sir Tapley Seaton that same year, 2015. Now, during our nigh 40 years of our independence, much discussion has surrounded the question, who can dismiss the Governor General? From a quick glance at the protocols and possibilities of dismissing a Governor General, or one may ask, who has the authority to fire the Governor General? Remember, the Governor General is appointed by the King on the advice of the Prime Minister, and as such, only the King could fire the Governor General, if it ever came to that eventuality. But let us examine the nuances, however, and we can point to a practical example of such a recent occurrence right here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We can look at a recent occurrence here in the Federation. Dr. Drew obviously came to the office of Prime Minister, no doubt with a clear desire to see Sir Tapley leave his office as Governor General. Because immediately after having been sworn in by Sir Tapley as Prime Minister, he then returned to Government House for his first conversation with the head of state, and foremost on his mind was his perception that Sir Tapley's predecessor, Sir Edmund, was kicked out, but he was willing to give Sir Tapley some time. And this was his first conversation with Sir Tapley after he was sworn in by Sir Tapley as Prime Minister of this country.
If you go back and you see how Sir Edmund was treated, Sir Edmund Lawrence, the disrespect with which he was treated, basically kicked out of the place. And when I went to visit the former Governor General, Sir Tapley, he and I had a discussion, and I asked him, how do you want to leave the office? He gave me a timeline. I respected the timeline. He said to me he wanted his time would be up to the end of December. I said, fine. I went back to see him again, and he said, PM, I need some more time. I said, no problem. And I gave him until the end of January.
And the end of January came, and Sir Tapley left Government House with his dignity and his trademark humility. And these were the words of Sir Tapley, his final words or remarks as Governor General.
I take this opportunity to express sincere thanks and appreciation to all who have assisted me in the discharge of my duties. These include my administrative staff, gardeners, and other support staff at Government House, who have served diligently, enabling me to perform my duties. This has been a fulfilling experience, coming as it does after having served for 15 years as the first Attorney General of an independent St. Christopher and Nevis. I'm also grateful to the persons who have assisted me in the journey, including my family, medical professionals, and the security services, and all who have been very supportive of my efforts to build on the structure of Government House and its surroundings, to ensure access to the People's House, and to facilitate all activities of the Office of the Governor General.
And that was Sir Tapley's final speech before the meeting office on January 31st, 2023. 5 months later, Sir Tapley went to the great beyond on Thursday, the 29th of June, and was laid to rest today, Thursday, the 20th of July. Sir Tapley built on the structure of Government House and its surroundings, and ensured access to the People's House, and facilitated all activities of the office of the Governor General. An illustrious son of St. Kitts and Nevis has been truly lost, as his life was of dedicated service. But who was Tapley Seaton, you may ask? Sir Samuel Weymouth Tapley Seaton, GCMG CVO Kessie Jeppy, was the fourth Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis from 2015 to 2023. We have heard and read all about his academic prowess. We have heard and learnt about them. And Dame Marcella Liburd was gracious in her tribute to Sir Tapley, which reads, and I quote, "I wish to pay tribute to the late Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG, beg your pardon, CVO Kessie Jeppy LLD, former Governor General of St. Christopher and Nevis, my immediate predecessor. I have had occasion to interact with Sir Tapley on different levels throughout my lifetime, from Market Street to the court and lately at Government House. He has always been generous with advice and warm with his welcome. Sir Tapley is renowned for his humility, engaging personality, and above all, his astute statesmanship. He had vast interests and was able to converse at ease on varying issues and topics. His was always a philanthropic spirit, freely offering his skills and knowledge to individuals and organizations, whether from the community, the church, or civil society. His life is marked by dedicated public service, whether as Attorney General, as President of the local and OECS bars, as President of the St. Kitts National Trust, President of Rotary, or as Governor General. In his quiet, unassuming way, Sir Tapley contributed significantly to the development of the public and private sectors in St. Kitts and Nevis. One of his most reliable accomplishments is being one of the architects of the Constitution of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, which laid the foundation for an independent St. Christopher and Nevis. As we celebrate 40 years of independence this September, we must record our gratitude to Sir Tapley for the fundamental role he played in that regard. When Sir Tapley was appointed to the highest constitutional position, he was able to impart, his wisdom and knowledge more broadly throughout the Federation. He held his position in high esteem and always considered diverse views while maintaining his integrity. We shall surely miss his commitment to the well-being of our beloved Federation, but his legacy shall live on. I extend condolences to the dear sister and the entire family, to his dear sister that should be, and the entire family. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And this was signed by Dame Marcella Liburd, GCMG JP, Governor General, on July 2023. The President of the Republic of China on Taiwan also sent a tribute which reads, my street dog family, and I quote, "I was deeply saddened to learn of the passing of the venerable statesman and former Governor General of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG CVO Kessie Jeppy LLD. On behalf of the people and government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, I extend my sincere condolences to all those mourning his passing. I respectfully request that Your Excellency convey my deepest sympathies to Sir Tapley's family and to the people and government of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. Nationally acclaimed and respected, Sir Tapley represented his country with dignity and resolve and leaves behind a rich legacy for others to build upon. His contributions during a lifetime of service to the development of St. Christopher and Nevis will be remembered for years to come. I hope that Sir Tapley's loved ones find comfort in the knowledge that his life was lived in service to his nation. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Sincerely, Tsai Ing-wen, President of the Republic of China and Taiwan. Now, when I excerpt from a tribute emanating from the office of the Pro Vice Chancellor and principal of the University of the West Indies Open Campus, dated Monday, July 3rd, reads, and I quote, "Sir Tapley had many firsts. He was among the first group of graduates in law from the University of the West Indies, the first in that group to be elevated to Queen's Counsel in 1988, and the first among his graduating class to be appointed an Attorney General in 1980 at the age of 29. The latter fact made him the youngest Attorney General in the Commonwealth. He served as Attorney General of St. Kitts and Nevis for 15 years, becoming the longest serving Attorney General in the region. Between 1995 and 2015, Sir Tapley spent those years in private practice, and during that period he served in numerous professional positions, including, though not exhaustive, the President of the St. Kitts Bar Association, the President of the Rotary Club of St. Kitts, the Director of the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the President of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS Bar Association, and a former Vice President of the Brimpton Hill Fortress National Park. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, my straight dog family, I must note this. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, unless I missed it, unless it was not printed or posted, he did not even have the common decency to offer a kind word about one of St. Kitts and Nevis's illustrious sons. But that did not matter, my straight dog family. It did not matter one iota, because the King of England did. The King of England said this, my straight dog family.
Several persons, in referring to Tapley, have quoted words from a well-known poem, and the words are, "He walked with kings, but did not lose the common touch." In this regard, I'd like to read a letter dated the 8th of July, sent to me from Buckingham Palace, and it says, "Dear Mrs. Foreman, I wanted to write and say how very sorry my wife and I are to hear of the recent death of your brother, Sir Tapley Seton, and to send you our deepest sympathy. I know that Sir Tapley's lifelong dedication to the people of St. Christopher and Nevis was truly remarkable, from becoming the youngest Attorney General in the Commonwealth at the age of just 29, to serving proudly as Governor General for over 7 years. His commitment to the education and development of young people, the strengthening of the judicial system, and the preservation of national heritage and the environment will, I am sure, be cherished for many years to come. I remember with great fondness the warm welcome my wife and I received from Sir Tapley as we began our most enjoyable visit to St. Christopher and Nevis in 2019. And however inadequate this letter may be, I did so want you and your family to know how much you are in our thoughts and prayers at such a very difficult time of loss. Yours most sincerely, Charles III.
Yes, so it didn't matter if our leader had no decency. He got a letter, or the King of England recognized. So too, his childhood friend, Terry Byron.
Mr. Terence Byron, CMG, sent me a message on Tapley's passing, and he has given me permission to read it out. His message epitomizes some of what Tapley was about. Dear greeter, news of Tapley's passing has left me with a gamut of emotions. We were contemporaries, both born in 1950. I have many early childhood memories of him. I watched him grow up and mature. He remained and remains the soul of discretion, a dignified presence at all times. A high achiever, meanness and pettiness were beneath him. I am honored to call him my friend. My thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. Thank you, Terry, for those kind words.
We also learned today that Sir Tapley, back then, as a young Crown Counsel, was revered and respected by the late Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, now Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, first national hero. We also learned about his pro bono services to the Labour government back then, my Straight Dog family. We learned so much about Sir Tapley.
I just want to mention briefly 3 things that Tapley was involved in that are not so well known. After graduating in law, he became Crown Counsel in the government of then Premier Robert Bradshaw, now the late Right Excellent Sir Robert Bradshaw, and Tapley travelled with him on occasion on legal matters. The other 2 items I want to mention relate to work that he did pro bono, that is, without charge. For the Ministry of Education, he drafted the legislative framework to facilitate greater autonomy for the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College. And for the St. Christopher Heritage Society, he drafted the National Trust Act. And there were many others to which he gave his time and energy.
Yes, he traveled with Bradshaw. But Sir Tapley always defended the rights of our people. And as one who helped to draft our Constitution, he never shied away from the issues or from the facts, as controversial as they may have seemed, my Straight Dog family. He'd always speak the truth.
The motion of no confidence is there. I mean, at all times, it's we can repeat ourselves ad nauseum in terms of saying that this is a matter that should have been accorded the highest priority. Because in the parliamentary setting, that is the motion that has to be given the priority that it deserves. And you have numerous examples during the time that this motion has been lying there before the parliament, where motions of no confidence have been heard, have been dealt with in our surrounding areas and beyond. And so there's no shying away from the fact that there has been, in my view, a breach of that protocol that demands an early hearing of a motion of no confidence. The question of moving it lies within the parliament, lies within the hands of the speaker.
Yes, a breach of protocol. And he wasn't afraid to support the view that the Parliament of St. Kitts was made into a useless instrument. So Tapley stood for the truth and put country above self. Even, recall, when those who wanted to hijack power more recently and expected Sir Tapley to flout the Constitution. But how could he flout a Constitution that he himself drafted? My Straight Dog family.
If nobody stands up to the truth, then there will be no truth. That being so, it has to be said that in recent years, there were persons who withdrew their speech from Tapley to the end because it seems that he did not agree with them on certain issues. There were also those who wrote on social media that they had lost all respect for Tapley. But Tapley knew the Constitution. After all, he had had a great hand in drafting it, and he knew his responsibilities as head of state. He wasn't bitter as a result of these situations, nor was he angry at those persons. He was just a little saddened by their behavior. But after all, if ever there was a person who put country above self, it was Tapley Senior.
Yes. country of ourselves. So who really was Sir Tapley? I recall during my stint as a Minister of Government, he was always willing and receptive to the development in the country. And as Minister of Public Infrastructure, he looked forward to my reports, sitting quietly in his office and giving him an update. And I recall when I was overseas in the mission, I say, I haven't heard Sir Tapley in a long while. And I picked up my phone and I called him. His telephone rang and rang, his cell phone rang. And lo and behold, about 20 minutes after, he returned my call. And that was the Tapley I knew. I knew him from the Moravian Church, of course, Boys Brigade. And all I can say, and all that everyone would say, Sir Tapley was a cool guy. I'm sure you will agree.
Only a brother can love like a father, annoy like a sister, care like a mother, and support like a friend. Tapley was a rather nice brother and generally excellent human being. He was a cool guy. Miss you, Tapley. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
The Federation and the region, my Street Dog family, benefited immensely from his great stewardship. And here at home, when it was surely needed, he redeemed the public confidence in the office of the Governor General. May the soul of Sir Tapley rest in eternal peace. That's my story tonight, my Street Dog family, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. You may have things to add. There may be some things you don't agree with. The lines will be open. And all we implore you is to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure then that the things you say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of saying and or doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. The lines are open, my Straight Dog family. The numbers are 646-829-6672 and or 869-663-6672. I must remind you as well that the 646-829-6672 number has access as well to WhatsApp. We do also have our email platform, and the address is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. And I note my emails are building up, so I'll take this one email first. Patches, buenas noches. Buenas noches, señor. Throughout the world, government travelers are limited to the per diem rate established for that country or city. Travelers are given two options when liquidating their travel claims upon their return. The first option is actual expense not to exceed the per diem rate. The second is 54%, beg your pardon, for lodging, 39% for meals, and is it 7%? To receive reimbursement for hotels, you must have a receipt. Tax receipts are also required. How are government workers reimbursed in St. Kitts? Very interesting question here in that email that yes, I think we give, and you get an per diem which covers your meals and your each day. You must present a hotel receipt though to recover that. But they give you an allowance. I can't even recall what that number is. I think it's $300, which you don't necessarily have to account for. So if you want to eat hamburgers, you eat hamburgers. If you want to eat chicken and chips, but sometimes the meals are so expensive. But I believe that's how it's done here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And yes, we are looking at we're giving a tribute to, as I said, our late brother, Sir Tapley Seaton. Patches, you have the only visible opposition. Let's get back to that, my Straight Talk family. Let's take this call and I'll get back to that. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good morning. Good night, Mr. Patches.
Good night, my dear brother. Sounds like the Bible man. How about thou?
I'm wonderful. I just was drinking a cup of Nevis. So I need, yeah. Well, Mr. Patches, I hear you when you really read out those things. Well, you see, the Bible says a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Steps of a good man.
Now, Mr. Patches, in everything that you do, I say, you have to give God an account that you do. My brother, do not think that everything is going to, it must reveal itself one of these days. Listen here. One thing we know, we bring nothing in this world, and we carry out nothing. So I am saying tonight, read Psalm 49, and it tells you, it says when a man get rich, you must not frustrate yourself, because whatever God is telling you, that he brings nothing in this world and he carry out nothing. So read Psalm 49. My brother, when you look after the poor people, listen here, because the word of God said, the Lord think on the poor people. And when you look after them, God is going to bless you mightily. Even when you're in trouble, God is going to be at your side. And this is what people don't understand. It can be rain and the unjust and the just. And so we have to give God an account. My brother, the word of God says, it is the Lord's mercy in Lamentation chapter 3 that we are not consumed, because it is new every morning. It's a great is thy faithfulness, my Lord. And I am saying tonight, Mr. Patrick, take care of yourself. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. A lot of people believe to themselves, they make their own self enough. None can go so. Because a lot of people don't know it's a mystery. When you sleep and you get up in the morning, it is God who wakes you up, not yourself. It is God. So people must understand they are not their own bosses. It's God. It's God is the bosses over the whole world. And it's here that people forget who God be. So, Mr. Prophet, the word of God said, no weapon that form against thee shall prosper. And every tongue that rises against thee
shall be
in judgment shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servant of the Lord, and they are righteous before me, said the Lord. That's it. I ain't going to take up no more of your time. But one thing I have to say, there was a man in the Bible believed that the kingdom was his, and he do all kind of things. And when he went to sleep at night, Mr. Prophet, he see the handwriting on the wall. And when he get up, he counted change, and his fingers then start to drop. And he started to know reward and trust. But only one man could really do that. That is Daniel. And when Daniel gave me the answer and tell him, you are way in the balancing and unwanted. One of these days, God is going to put in the appearance. So let us not fool ourselves. Mr. Patrick, have a pleasant night. And may the good Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. May the good Lord bless you and keep you as well, the Bible man. You've said one thing that we ought to take heed of, that each of us must appear before the judgment seat of Christ and be forewarned that you cannot take any witness. You can't take your lawyer. You can't take no one. That you may be recompensed, my brother, for the things that you have done. You're still the Bible man. I thought you left. Yes, sir. Each of us, like I said, must appear before the judgment seat of Christ, and you may be recompensed for the things that we have done. Patches, you are the only viable opposition spokesperson we have in St. Kitts that is keeping the government in check. The fake government paid opposition leader in parliament getting paid for a job he is not doing. The monthly salary should be given to you, Patches, if you only know the amount of distinguished and undistinguished citizens from the various political parties that look forward every Monday and Thursday for your Straight Talk program. You will be amazed. The red herring protocol or pretext, Brantley beg your pardon, is using to fool, mislead, deceive, bluff, and hoodwink skeptical and unsuspecting citizens with, that as opposition leader, he has to work in tandem with government, is complete rubbish and nonsense. I am one, and there are numerous others who strongly hold the perspective that he could have easily ceded the opposition leadership to Sean, but he is so avaricious, beg your pardon, and greedy that for several years he has been collecting 2 salaries, and he saw another opening for him to get a 3rd salary. Good Lord, man Mark, where's your conscience, beg your pardon, reads that email. And just for clarity, I respect your opinion, but I'm not the opposition spokesman. I am an advocate for the truth. And here on Straight Talk, we present the unvarnished truth, that is. But I am an advocate for the truth, not the opposition. Every week, Sam on this radio program, and in his introductory remarks, saying that he wants to thank the many persons who greet him daily and commend him for his good performance every Friday afternoon. I don't believe anybody tells Sam a thing like that. Or if they do, they're just making a mockery of the truth with him. For every week, Sam making himself a real puppy show and laughing stock on the airwaves. Just imagine Sam had the gall to say that the Kion have had this water problem for years under several governments, but it got worse under Team Unity Harris. What an idiotic, stupid, dumb, and senseless statement emanating from a man who was Deputy Prime Minister for so many years. Is it any wonder why Douglas could not trust you to run the Federation when he went to Libya, but chose rather to operate from abroad in running the Federation himself with his BlackBerry cell phone? Some boy, you're just a joker on the radio, and people laughing at you, reads this email. At 9:13, my Straight Talk family, you may have just joined me. And tonight we are looking at the thesis, as we said, titled rather, May the Soul of Sir Tapley Rest in Peace. And I believe by now we have established that Sir Tapley was a cool guy who defended the rights of our people, who helped to draft our Constitution and never shied away from the facts, as controversial as they may have seemed. We also learned, my Straight Talk family, that Sir Tapley, back then as a young Crown Counsel, was revered and respected by our first national hero, Sir Robert Llewellyn-Bradshaw. And even though, my Straight Talk family, the Prime Minister in this country didn't have, to date, that I know of, if you know otherwise, tell me, to date he did not have the common courtesy to mention one word about Sir Tapley, who have done so much for this country. It matters not. It does not matter, because the King of England did, my Straight Talk family. The King of England did say this about Sir Tapley. So does it matter whether Jew said anything? Do you think? Not at all. This was the letter from King Charles.
Several persons, in referring to Tapley, have quoted words from a well-known poem, and the words are, "He walked with kings, but did not lose the common touch." In this regard, I'd like to read a letter dated the 8th of July, sent to me from Buckingham Palace. And it says, "Dear Mrs. Foreman, I wanted to write and say how very sorry my wife and I are to hear of the recent death of your brother, Sir Tapley Seton, and to send you our deepest sympathy. I know that Sir Tapley's lifelong dedication to the people of St. Christopher and Nevis was truly remarkable, from becoming the youngest Attorney General in the Commonwealth at the age of just 29, to serving proudly as Governor General for over 7 years. His commitment to the education and development of young people, the strengthening of the judicial system, and the preservation of national heritage and the environment will, I am sure, be cherished for many years to come. I remember with great fondness the warm welcome my wife and I received from Sir Tapley, as we began our most enjoyable visit to St. Christopher and Nevis in 2019. And however inadequate this letter may be, I did so want you and your family to know how much you are in our thoughts and prayers at such a very difficult time of loss. Yours most sincerely, Charles III.
A letter from King Charles to his sister Greta on the passing of Sir Tapley. Who was Sir Tapley? We learned he stood for the truth and put country above self. Remember, when those, I can't describe them, when those guys tried to hijack the prime ministership and went to Sir Tapley, the Governor General, obviously badly advised that you can dismiss one prime minister and appoint another prime minister. And Sir Tapley put his country above self and had no intention whatsoever to flout the constitution which he himself, my straight dog family, he himself drafted the constitution.
If nobody stands up to the truth, then there will be no truth. That being so, it has to be said that in recent years, there were persons who withdrew their speech from Tapley to the end because it seems that he did not agree with them on certain issues. There were also those who wrote on social media that they had lost all respect for Tapley. But Tapley knew the Constitution. After all, he had had a great hand in drafting it, and he knew his responsibilities as head of state. He wasn't bitter as a result of these situations, nor was he angry at those persons. He was just a little saddened by their behavior. But after all, if ever there was a person who put country above self, it was Tapley Senior.
And I must confess that he was a great fan of Straight Talk. I wanted not to mention it, but I'm forced to do so. But Sir Tapley was a real cool guy in the Straight Dog family. Real cool guy, as we said. This email reads, my Straight Dog family, dear Mr. Liburd, as I sat by my desk at work this morning, I heard the news that Dr. Lesroy Pacer Henry passed away. I knew him from his work in caring for my father's animals. He was the best they had in agriculture, but they treated him like a dog. They threw him out because he knew the truth about the new Pierce and the new director. Imagine they ran home Pacer to sit down for a year without getting a decent vet in place. I see Pacer as the 20th murder victim. Samal, Miguel, Andrew will see how karma go sooner rather than later, reads this email. Dear Mr. Liburd, reads this other email. Farmers are not stupid, and we are hurting and being taken advantage of. How can Sean Lake, who is now the Assistant Director of Agriculture, be selling and running big business and selling more vegetables from the marketing unit for the marketing unit? Is this what Samuel called better with labor? Reads this email. Things worse on the Jew. Reads this email. Yes, this labor government is even worse than the 10 man in one. The Labour ministers do not care. Let the citizens think for a good couple seconds and ask themselves if life was better under Tim or Jew. Anytime Jew lies, just styles my teeth and walk off. With all that is going on, Jew, the clone acts just like a clone. Patches, what do you know about clones? I think one thing I pick up on clones, beg your pardon, is anything you tell them, they always laugh. And it's just so Jew behaves with this other email. My Straight Talk family, it's now 22 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. You may have just joined me, and you may have missed the fact that last night we've had our 19th murder for 2023. And we've heard nothing, absolutely nothing, from the minister with responsibility for national security. Our country has made the top 10 of the most dangerous countries. And we're not hearing anything whatsoever. And what is significant about this last murder? It's another gun-related killing. 18 gun-related of the 19. And what's really concerning about this latest murder is you must recognize that they are spread all around the country. Started at St. Peter's, down to the village, then into the Cairn, then to Connery, then around now to St. Paul's. And my Straight Dog family, we have heard absolutely nothing about or from the Minister with National Security. But we can confirm, like I said, that this murder last night has made it now 19 murders all told. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yes, caller, you live.
Patches,
Yes, sir.
I hear you say, you call us to in there. What Innis was?
Beg pardon?
What Innis was? Call me here, call Innis name.
You have your equipment on, just turn it down. This was a governor.
Yeah.
Just move away from your equipment.
A
governor, yes.
Yeah, so he was not a governor general?
No. Our governor general started from independence in 1983.
Oh.
That's with Arundel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because I want to know. But anyway, we got to talk. You hear what I said yesterday, right? Keep your eye on the man.
Okay.
Can't match up all we know.
Okay.
You know what talk now. You know what talk.
Yes, I recognize the voice.
Keep your eye on the man. I tell you, keep your eye on the man on Nevis.
Okay.
He match up all we know. You want match up labor now too. Okay. Keep your head on.
Okay, my brother. Have a good night. Yes, the governors general were just 5 since independence, as mentioned earlier. And to answer the question of that caller, Innis was in fact a governor. We got governors when we went to statehood. Yes, statehood. We got governors. Our first governor general from 1983 to 1996 was Sir Clement Athelstan Arundel, and he was succeeded by Sir Cuthbert Montraville Sebastian, who served from 1996 to 2013. Sir Edmund Wickham Lawrence succeeded Sir Cuthbert and served from 2013 to 2015 until he was replaced by Sir Tapley that same year, 2015. And Sir Tapley served up until January of this year, 2023. And currently we have Dame and our first lady Governor General, Dame Marcella Liburd. And I couldn't help but recognize that we have Governor General Dame Marcella and Deputy Governor General Aelita Liburd in Nevis. So, I don't know what that tells you. But, my Straight Dog family, no matter what you said, we always like to bring the facts. And some people don't like to hear the truth. The truth hurts, we know. But you recognize that the immaturity of our leader, who said nothing whatsoever about Sir Tapley. Nothing at all. Nothing at all about our head of state. Could you imagine that? But let's go to the lines, my Straight Dog family. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Library. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
All right, I'm calling from St. Martin. Well, I watched the funeral for most of it for the day. It was quite impressive. Yes. But let me just make a detour here. I would like to know, is there what you call like a rehabilitation center in the Federation? Why I'm asking that, because over the years I've been battling with that issue, even when other leaders were in power. And if there's none, why is there not a mental institution in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis? When you have so many folks seems to be having a lot of mental issues, and the country is as it were moving forward as the leaders see, but if they don't have the proper facilities, how can the people move forward as well? Thank you very much, and I listen out here. Thank you.
Thank you, St. Martin. A very interesting question. I think you're probably talking about treatment center. We do have as when you speak rehabilitation, I think you speak about something else. But I believe there in St. Martin there's a center that those who were on drugs or alcohol, who get addicted or over addicted, they go to these centers, treatment centers. We don't have that particular treatment center here in St. Kitts that I know of. I know there's a center we opened down at Limekeel, Dr. Lake, I forget the name, it's named after one of our famous doctors, Dr. Lake. But that was a day center that those who are mentally ill can go and get treatment. But there's a wing at the Jen France Hospital that deal with the mentally ill persons, and we understand, as a matter of fact, that it's been overcrowded of late, and then they go down to 1840, Her Majesty's prison. But I understand what you're saying, but there is no treatment center that deals specifically, if I understand what you are speaking about, Carlo, deals specifically with the addictions, whether from alcohol, drugs, or any other vices, I should say. But it's a good point, and one can look at it, examine it. But I know patients from here, let's call them patients for now, but those who needed treatment, there was a facility somewhere down in the Windward Islands, I think was St. Lucia as well. But I remember that the last person I knew that needed help went to St. Martin. I don't know if St. Martin still has that facility, but I trust I answered your question, my Straight Talk friend and family. But as I was saying, my Straight Talk family, that at 9:33, 27 before the 10 o'clock hour, we looked at the work and services of an illustrious son of St. Kitts, Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton. And as I said, in St. Kitts, it's a fact. During our nigh 40 years of independence, we've had issues with governor generals. Sir Clement Arundel, our first governor general, resigned, I think it was in 1996, under pressure after the Labour Party came into office in 1995. And of course, remember the feelings, the ill feelings that they brought back then because of what Sir Clement did in 1993. The scholars in law still believe, the majority, that Sir Clement did the right thing. But more recently, Dr. Drew came to office, as I said, whether we want to hear this or not. On Straight Talk, we give you the facts. Terence Michael Drew came to the office of Prime Minister, no doubt, with a clear desire to see Sir Tapley leave the office of Governor General ASAP. Because immediately after having been sworn in as Prime Minister by Sir Tapley himself, he returned to the government house, and his first conversation with the head of state was to ask him, when or how are you going to leave the office? And he gave Sir Tapley an ultimatum, or ultimatum, however you want to pronounce that, my Straight Talk family. He said this to Sir Tapley, and these are facts. We cannot dispute the facts. These are the words, or his words, as a matter of fact. Dr. Drew said this to Sir Tapley in his first conversation. We cannot run away from these facts.
If you go back and you see how Sir Edmund was treated, Sir Edmund Lawrence, the disrespect with which he was treated. Basically kicked out of the place. And when I went to visit the former Governor General, Sir Tapley, he and I had a discussion, and I asked him, how do you want to leave the office? He gave me a timeline. I respected the timeline. He said to me he wanted his time would be up to the end of December. I said, fine. And I went back to see him again, and he said, PM, I need some more time. I said, no problem. And I gave him until the end of January.
So he wanted to see the back of Sir Tapley. And Sir Tapley left Government House with dignity and his trademark humility.
I take this opportunity to express sincere thanks and appreciation to all who have assisted me in the discharge of my duties. These include my administrative staff, gardeners, and other support staff at Government House, who have served diligently, enabling me to perform my duties. This has been a fulfilled experience, coming as it does after having served for 15 years as the first Attorney General of an independent St. Christopher and Nevis. I'm also grateful to the persons who have assisted me in the journey, including my family, medical professionals, and the security services, and all who have been very supportive of my efforts to build on the structure of Government House and its surroundings, to ensure access to the People's House, and to facilitate all activities of the Office of the Governor General.
And that was Sir Tapley's final speech before the meeting office on January 31, 2023. 5 months later, Sir Tapley went to the great beyond on Thursday, 29th June, and was laid to rest today, the 20th of July, by Street Dog family. This message reads, another thing is who trained those police officers to remove anything that fell from the sky. That thing that landed down Conyers comes from, or with a spirit and a message, they should have secured that area. What is happening in St. Kitts reads this email, even more than the Christian Council. But what is the use of the Christian Council? The evil witnesses is hotter than even before in St. Kitts. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Hey, Patrick, good night. How are you doing?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty. It's Doug. Hey, you made a response here when you're saying that you all get $300 to spend as you like for per diem.
No.
Are we speaking about
sorry. I'm not. Don't quote me. I can't remember. It's so long ago, but I think it used to be around $250, $300 US. Yes, per day. If you are traveling outside of the Caribbean.
Okay, so is that including your lodging or just meals?
That's just your meals and your meals.
That's just for meals. So then
your meals are you're out of pocket and your meals, yes.
So then you get the next check for your lodging then.
Lodging meaning hotel?
Yeah, hotel. Yeah.
Yes. You can come back and most people would have their cards, right, and pay for their lodging, as you call it. And once you bring that receipt for the hotel, then you can recover your costs, unless you get an advance ahead of time,
And then you still get allowance for incidentals. When I say incidentals, I'm speaking about like tipping, like the porters and so who carry your bag and all those type of things.
Well, you get a per diem which includes all of that. If you have to get transportation. You can claim back transportation, like if you get your taxi receipts, you know.
So that I'm not holding you to $300, but is that daily or what?
Yes, it's a daily per diem. That's what you say per diem. Per diem means per day.
Yeah, per day.
Yeah, per diem is a daily allowance.
You know who you're speaking to, but I have a vast amount of experience.
It sounds,
computing federal travel, you know, and all those different things. And as a petition, you all are making more than what American travelers make. Because per diem is based on the area rate or city where the individual is traveling. No two islands have the same per diem. Some is less, some is more. Okay? So if they're going to be giving anyone tickets, let's use I'm not going to hold it to it, I don't hold it to it. I'm using 300. That is way out of line. I'll give you a rundown and actually.
Go
ahead.
Sorry, when you say out of line, is it too much or too little? It
is too much because not every island per diem rate is the same. Some are lower than the other.
No, but they have a rate for the CARICOM and they have a rate outside of CARICOM, if I recall.
Well, let me give you a rundown on how that are being responsible for computing per diem for federal workers and are being responsible for seeing it paid. Okay, and this is how it is. You get the area rate, okay, of the actual place where the individual is traveling. First of all, if a government worker is traveling, I will give the Prime Minister and I will give the Deputy Prime Minister first class. Because when you look at in federal government on the whole, most of them have their planes. So they're traveling in luxury. But any other ones, other than the head of state, they do not travel first class. They are governed by the cost what the government can fly with their funds. So you just can't walk up to a plane and buy a ticket at X amount. If it exceeds the amount that the government was going to fly with their funds, that's the maximum you can get. However, sometimes the travel people within the government agency makes that plan for you, so you get your ticket, and they determines how you can fly. Yes, some people can fly first class. However, you must be carrying like government documents, secret documents and all, and you get an exception where you can travel first class. Now you go into a place. The per diem, let's say in St. Kitts, it's $299 maximum for lodging. Okay? And $138 for meals and incidental. Your 3 meals plus your tips.
Yeah, but so I'm sorry to interrupt you. But the per diem has nothing to do with lodging and so on. Per diem is for your out-of-pocket expenses and your meals.
No. Per diem is the meal and incidental.
Right. So it has nothing to do with lodging.
But the total per diem includes the lodging. So what I'm saying to you, St. Kitts lodging is $297. Okay? For meals and incidentals, it's $138. So you actually get that the actual per diem rate for St. Kitts is around $397. Okay.
Yeah, what happens if you find a hotel for $200? What you do? You starve?
That you will be paid what you actually paid for the hotel.
Right. Okay. So, but what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. We don't. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you sort of mixing us up here. If you're traveling, right, the government or department use a particular travel agency, right, to book your flights. Okay, so you don't have to worry about your flights. The ministry will book your hotels. Will book your hotels. So really, you would know in advance what is the cost of your hotels, right? Now, what happens? It's at times it's tardy to get when you get your approval to travel and so on. Because I know in the system, I remember I was in the system. Once your approval in terms of advance approve is when you're ready to go, and they give you a check to do what. So unless you have your own credit cards or debit cards, whatever you use to pay for your expenses, they know what expenses are allowable. And the per diem, for example, I do not remember, and do not quote me, I do not know if it's $300 or $250, right? It's somewhere around there. I just cannot remember that, right? And there's also a policy in government back then that we only travel when there's no cost to government. So if it costs government, if the cost to government, then you can't travel. That was always a policy we had. That's policy. I left there. I don't know what's the policy now. So in other words, agencies would have paid for your expenses. So it didn't even per diem, right? But to tell me that you have a per diem per country, that can't work.
Yes. Yeah. Let's use St. Kitts as an example again. The maximum per diem payable for meals and incidental in St. Kitts is $138.
What, EC dollars?
And let's say $138. That's the maximum.
EC dollars?
When it's per diem for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
But for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what you gonna eat? Bread and cheese?
You know what you want with the $138. That's what I'm saying.
If you go in the hotel for a meal, that money is gone. Anyway, make your point. Make your point.
You're getting $300. So what is that $300 for? A day? What are you eating?
It's for your there's an out of pocket plus your meals. You have an out of pocket expense to get to take with incidentals like you said for tips and so on. But let's not argue on this on the program because I think we lost. No. What I mean, I don't think the listenership is following what we're saying here anyhow. So I don't know if you could prolong this too much. But make your point and then we'll go from there.
No, I was just saying with these figures that you're quoting, okay, to me, in comparison to other per diem and how they are paid throughout the world. I mean, I am personally telling you, I think that actually the system needs to revisit in St. Kitts, if that is what you say. But you said,
I won't agree with you because I traveled for a CREF conference, for example, in Miami, and the per diem is just the same. That's what they pay you. Yeah, so it's no difference really. So I don't agree with you.
Well.
The different organizations play different things, you know?
And I understand that, but what I am saying in comparison to what I know how things are supposed to be paid, like you just don't get individual for lodging because let's say he had somebody else in the room with him. That's 2 people. Are you going to pay that individual for full room? You can't say no.
Yeah, but I think you're mixing up, my good brother. You're mixing up this lodging and the per diem. They separate the lodging and the hotel. No, separate that. You don't put that together. Because you can't mix it.
They're different. I agree with you that they are different. But what I am saying is how they are paid. You go to a conference and meals in addition are given at the conference, where your government has to pay for it. You're not supposed to be reimbursed from you. Your government already paid for that.
Anyway, I think we have exhausted the point, my brother, right? I don't agree with you. We'll talk about that, but I think you got it wrong because I've been...
that is 50 years of this hard work.
But I'm not disputing how long you do it for the federal government, but I'm saying to you, I have traveled as speakers on separate conferences, and that's not how it's done. I don't agree with you. That's not how it's done. You know.
What I am trying to say to you is that actually I don't know how you do it.
Not me. Not me. There are international. There are international agencies that invite you to conferences, whether as a speaker or whatever, right? And their per diem allowances are not as you say, and they're the same as we do it. So, but anyway, I think let's be exhausted at that point, my friend. Yeah, let's talk about that offline. Yeah, let's talk about that offline. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, good, my brother. Let's go back to the lines. I'm sorry about that, my straight dog family. Are you there, caller? Okay, I lost that caller. I'm sorry about that digression, but again, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that caller because I've traveled on the account of international agencies, and the per diems are the same. You know, I don't know what the government does, the U.S. government does, but to say here have a per diem per island, it really doesn't make much of a sense to me, with greatest respect. We have, I know, a rate in government is a CARICOM rate, a rate which you pay within the region, and at times it is not even enough, even adequate, because you go to some places and you're staying in a hotel, and the meals at the hotel are so expensive. I mean, are you not gonna go down the road every minute? Are you not gonna go down the road and buy bread and sausage? No, that's not how it does. It's done, but that's your view. But again, that's what Straight Talk is all about. We digressed a bit, my Straight Talk family, and I apologize for that. Good night, Mr. Liburd. Reads this email. Let it be known that the snake undermined Vance Amri also. So what do you expect? He will undermine July also. Secondly, we would like to know what are the covering up with the police who knocked down the 80-year-old woman in Nevis. They are asking for persons with information to come forward. But if it was only the driver in the vehicle who they want to come forward, it's like they just want to make sure no one else saw. Reads this email. My Straight Talk family at 9:54, it's 6 before the 10 o'clock hour. We're going to wind down this program tonight, because our program is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 to 10 in the PM. So as we wind down tonight's programming, you may have joined me late, my Straight Dog family, and we in fact discussed our thesis tonight titled May Sir Tapley rest in eternal peace. We looked at the role of the Governor General, or a Governor General, to put things into perspective. And we looked at the ceremonial, constitutional, and civic role. Then we looked at the Governor Generals that we've had in St. Kitts since attaining independence. We made the point that there were 5 Governor Generals so far. And our current Governor General is Dame Marcella Althea Liburd. Before her was Sir Tapley. Before him was Sir Edmund. Before Sir Edmund was Sir Cuthbert. And before Sir Cuthbert was Sir Clement. But who was Tapley Seaton? Humble, dignified, highly intelligent man who walked with kings but never lost the common touch. So Tapley served as Governor General from 2015 to 2023. And as per one tribute, he had many firsts. He was amongst the first group of graduates in law from the University of the West Indies. He was the first in that group to be elevated to Queen's Counsel in 1988, and the first among his graduating class to be appointed an Attorney General in 1980 at the tender age of 29, which made him the youngest Attorney General in the Commonwealth. He served as Attorney General of St. Kitts and Nevis for 15 years, becoming the longest serving Attorney General in the region. Between 1995 and 2015, he went into private practice and served that time in many professional positions. But Sir Tapley did quite a lot of pro bono work. And we learned today that Sir Tapley even traveled when he was a young Crown Counsel with Robert Bradshaw, a Straight Dog family.
I just want to mention briefly 3 things that Tapley was involved in that are not so well known. After graduating in law, he became Crown Counsel in the government of then Premier Robert Bradshaw, now the late Right Excellent Sir Robert Bradshaw, and Tapley traveled with him on occasion on legal matters. The other 2 items I want to mention relate to work that he did pro bono, that is, without charge. For the Ministry of Education, he drafted the legislative framework to facilitate greater autonomy for the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College, and for the St. Christopher Heritage Society, he drafted the National Trust Act, and there were many others to which he gave his time and energy.
But Sir Tapley did not even get the benefit of the common decency of our Prime Minister, who said not one word about one of St. Kitts and Nevis's illustrious sons. But that did not matter, to tell you the truth, because Sir Tapley or his sister got a letter from the king. And that matters, my Straight Dog family.
Several persons, in referring to Tapley, have quoted words from a well-known poem, and the words are, "He walked with kings, but did not lose the common touch." In this regard, I'd like to read a letter dated the 8th of July, sent to me from Buckingham Palace. And it says, "Dear Mrs. Foreman, I wanted to write and say how very sorry my wife and I are to hear of the recent death of your brother, Sir Tapley Seton, and to send you our deepest sympathy. I know that Sir Tapley's lifelong dedication to the people of St. Christopher and Nevis was truly remarkable, from becoming the youngest Attorney General in the Commonwealth at the age of just 29 to serving proudly as Governor General for over 7 years. His commitment to the education and development of young people, the strengthening of the judicial system, and the preservation of national heritage and the environment will, I am sure, be cherished for many years to come. I remember with great fondness the warm welcome my wife and I received from Sir Tapley as we began our most enjoyable visit to St. Christopher and Nevis in 2019. And however inadequate this letter may be, I did so want you and your family to know how much you are in our thoughts and prayers at such a very difficult time of loss. Yours most sincerely, Charles III.
King Charles III paid his tribute. He stood for the truth, Sir Tapley, and put the country above self, even when those who wanted to hijack power more recently and expected Sir Tapley to flout the Constitution he helped to draft. None of that was going to come from Sir Tapley.
If nobody stands up to the truth, then there will be no truth. That being so, it has to be said that in recent years, there were persons who withdrew their speech from Tapley to the end because it seems that he did not agree with them on certain issues. There were also those who wrote on social media that they had lost all respect for Tapley. But Tapley knew the Constitution. After all, he had had a great hand in drafting it, and he knew his responsibilities as head of state. He wasn't bitter as a result of these situations, nor was he angry at those persons. He was just a little saddened by their behavior. But after all, if ever there was a person who put country above self, it was Tapley Senior.
So who really was Sir Tapley though? He was just a cool guy, my straight talk family.
Only a brother can love like a father, annoy like a sister, care like a mother, and support like a friend. Tapley was a rather nice brother and generally excellent human being. He was a cool guy. Miss you, Tapley. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
The Federation and the region benefited immensely from the great stewardship of Sir Tapley. And here at home, when it was surely needed, he redeemed the public confidence in the office of the Governor General. My straight dog family, with the soul of Sir S. W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG, CVO, KC, JP, LLD, the former Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, rest in eternal peace. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, as always. I want to thank all who sent emails, those who made calls, and there are those who just listen in the numbers on Facebook and YouTube. Just continue to share the feed, spread the word that Straight Talk is on every Monday and Thursday. What we do is ensure we bring you the unvarnished truth. It gets you up to date. We don't say things to create any sort of sensation. We're not a sensational group. We tell the truth, the unvarnished truth, my Straight Dog family, like I said. And for those who label the program as an opposition program, my Straight Dog family, I'm somewhat weary to accept it. Because as your host, I remain an untiring advocate of truthfulness. Nothing is watered down in any way, whether by omission or exaggeration, to make it more interesting. I consider it my duty, my bounden duty, I may add, to always present the unvarnished truth about governance in my country as a stickler of correctness. Until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk, have yourselves, my Straight Talk family, a wonderful weekend. Be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you've got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday, keep moving on.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives, that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now, I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow, down on my knees. The Lord I kneel and pray, with my heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day. My God,